Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on over to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardy. If this is your guys' first time joining us, you are 100% in for a ride. Today, we're going to be going over what is taking place over inside the Middle East. Why the heck did the USA decide to do a mass bombing campaign across Yemen? Well, if you didn't know, you are going to find out today, and you're going to be very, very well informed. I highly suggest you like, subscribe, follow the channel, share it with your friends, do everything that you can. Here, you are going to get the only bias take I would say that you're going to get is when it goes against terrorism. Everything else that you end up getting over here is like 100% fact-based. And when you do get my biases, I'm going to let you know exactly what my biases are. I'm going to give you facts. I'm going to give you opinions. I'm going to take your questions. Highly suggest you become a true supporter if you haven't already, because I'm going to be honest with you. We have probably one of the best freaking communities out there, and we do a lot of freaking cool stuff. For those of you guys that don't know, we've interviewed people like the Vegas bomber's wife. We have interviewed people like Nate Vance. We have just been doing amazing things. And I'm proud to announce that I am also soon to be, although haven't signed anything yet, haven't done anything yet, going to also be partnering with Stand With Us. If you guys don't know who they are, you should probably go look them up. It is a very great organization that does a lot of great things out in the world. Now, again, in order to understand what's taking place over inside of the Middle East, I'm going to have to give you guys a little bit of a background. Okay, so we're going to do that. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I see you guys checking in. Where you been, man? I've been busy, bro. I've been busy. You think it's easy to do the things that I do as a one-man show? No, sir. Like, it amazes me that you guys are like, I don't understand where you've been all this time. Like, have you seen the things that I've been up to? Like, bro. It's a one-man show over here, all right? I work by myself. I work for myself. I need to end up getting some other people out there. Now, a smaller note, I think something that a lot of people are going to kind of like lose about if you haven't seen this before is this. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I'm going to play this clip for you before we get into it, and then I'm going to end up jumping over to a map. I'm going to start explaining what was happening over in the Middle East, but this is a small little political note that I think you guys are probably going to be interested in.
To follow up on the Biden auto pen, are those executive orders, or those pardons from the former president now null and void?
Well, I think so. It's not my decision. That'll be up to a court. But I would say that they're null and void, because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that it was taking place. And somebody was using an auto pen to sign off and to give pardons to, as an example, just one example, but the J6 Unselect Committee. Think of it, they gave pardons with an auto pen. I don't think Biden knew anything about it. And what they did is they deleted and destroyed all of the information that took them over a year to get. And the reason they did that is because the information was very incriminating about them, like Nancy Pelosi. It was determined.
I mean, I think we can kind of stop there and kind of like move away from everything else that he's going to end up throwing out there. But it is kind of like one of those widely known things that has came out now is that there's some executive orders that were floating around. This is what was being said, was that some of these executive orders that were floating around that Biden actually didn't know were signed. It's freaking madness. Tristan Allen says, good morning, Matt. Happy St. Patrick's Days. Tomorrow is my birthday. Let's have a great stream and spam the super chats and gifted memberships. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I agree with that message all day long. That is how I get paid. Most of these streams are unmonetized because of the types of information that I show and the different things I put out. Tristan Allen, spam in the chat with 5 Speak the Truth memberships, and in honor of St. Patty's Days, wouldn't you know it, the messages are even green. James, good morning, Matt. Happy St. Patty's Day. Dude, I didn't even know it was St. Patty's Day, to be perfectly honest with you. I went out and I grabbed some food the other night, and after I had that food, I couldn't help but notice that there's a lot of people wearing green. I was like, what the hell? Is it St. Patty's Day already? Texas Actual coming in gifting out 50 Speak the Truth memberships. Man, you guys aren't even like playing when it comes down to that. Not even playing. And you guys are going to notice a new setup later on this evening when I go to do the evening live session. So really, 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 guys, look forward to that. Now, here's everybody's favorite time, map time, because I have to refresh memory on some people that don't understand what the hell's going on over in the Middle East. Now, the main player that we need to look at over here before we dive into it is we need to pay attention to this country right here, Iran. Okay, Iran is a giant pain in the butt. You can call it Iran. There's people that are saying, listen, don't confuse the Iranian people with like the current regime that's over there. Iranian people are great. And while there is like a slight uprising that's kind of taking place, it's still Iran, whether you like it or not. Adora the Wholesome coming in and giving out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Thank you, ma'am. You are freaking amazing. I love you guys to death. So what's taking place over in Iran, and why are things going like the way they're going? Well, Iran has been for quite some time now wanting more and more influence over on the Middle East. After the U.S. backed out of Iraq, back in like the 2010 timeframe, kind of like when we backed out, we saw a rising of ISIS-K up over inside of Syria, right? ISIS-K, or I'm sorry, not ISIS-K, just ISIS general. So ISIS ended up starting to rise over inside of Syria, and then they pushed into northern Iraq, and they started to work their way down. Well, Iran, again, wanting to have more and more influence across the Middle East, actually offered to the Iraqi government to go in and help kick Iran out of Iraq. Now, very wise decision by the USA was to go back in and actually start fighting against ISIS and pushing them out of Iraq. And then eventually we started pushing them back into Syria. And eventually you had Trump standing there being like, he died like a dog, or whatever it was that he said. Tristan Allen coming in and says, Texas actual dropping the big banana. Dang right, man. Got to drop that banana song in there. So that's kind of like what was happening over there. But on the backside for years and years now, right? Because Iran is smart. Iran does things kind of like behind the scenes. A lot of people are surprised to learn that Iran has been supporting Russia, right, over in the war inside of Ukraine. But they do a lot of things behind the scene, right? A lot of them. One of the things that they've been doing is they've been supporting Hezbollah over inside of Lebanon. Now, Hezbollah has pushed its way, and again, this is all going to make sense when we start talking about Syria here in a minute, or start talking about Yemen. Hezbollah is the largest, all right, the largest terror organization in the world, non-state terror organization. Let me put it that way, non-state terror organization. That prize goes to Iran. Now, Iran itself is a foreign terror organization, at least the IRGC, listed by the United States government. And they get listed that because of all of these different works that they do. They actually end up funding, training, and working with proxy forces. One of those proxy forces they were working with was Hezbollah over inside of Lebanon. And they actually connected them over inside of Syria with the Assad regime when he was over in there. They were like, at one point in time, according to Israeli intelligence, Hezbollah was producing chemical weapons for the Assad regime. They were running chemical weapons factories. They were doing all sorts of like nut job things. And yes, this is the same Hezbollah that is on like the southern border that's supposed to be south of Litani and everything else. It's currently engaged up over on the Syrian border with HTS and a couple of other people. Like, it's a freaking problem, right? But when you look at that and you look at Jelani, you got to understand that that same ISIS that we were talking about, and Jelani is the current de facto leader over inside of Syria, he had a $10 million bounty on his head for his work inside of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, right? And then also founding the Nusra Front. Now, when he founded ANF, he got sent there by al-Baghdadi, who is the leader of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. That guy, raging POS, right? Baghdadi, everybody knows ISIS bad, Baghdadi bad dude, and they ended up schwacking him and taking him out. The USA did that under the Trump administration. America, right? But Jelani, the guy that's currently inside of Syria, was like one of freaking Baghdadi's go-to bros. And so that guy is now leading the country. And when Jelani first got sent into Syria to recruit for AQI and to build money up, and then eventually founded ANF, when he founded the Al-Nusra Front, his stated goals was to overthrow the Assad regime and establish a Sunni Islamic caliphate. Like, think about that for a minute. He wanted to establish a Sunni Islamic caliphate, which, if you don't know, those happen to be the same exact stated goals of ISIS, which is wild, right? So he is essentially ISIS rebranded. He's running the country, and now he is even more dangerous than ever. It's freaking nuts, I know, as we go to talk about that. Now, when we go to the map and we start backing out and we talk about, Iran sponsoring them, well, Iran has also sponsored numerous other terror organizations over across Iraq. So when you hear like Iranian-backed terrorists, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the IRGC from Iran, who answers directly to the Ayatollah, all right, going over there and doing these other things. You can think of them like special operations troops, right? Iran also was supplying and funding. Now we're going to go zoom down on Israel. Okay. Iran also was supplying and funding Hamas inside of Gaza, and some say helped coordinated the attacks on October 7th. That's intelligence far beyond what I have access to. Currently, all of my intel has been expired, so I don't have access to any intel other than OSINT, right? So with that being said, that is what those open source intelligence reports are saying. And in fact, they have been doing things like that. And there is definitely signs of that, along with helping other terror attacks, right? That were taking place. And of course, last year, unless you've been living under a rock, you saw Iran was firing ballistic missiles at Israel. They weren't doing that just because they want death to Israel. And I'm going to show you a little video here in a sec. They were doing that for several other reasons. So let's talk about Yemen. Yemen, okay, is home to the Houthi terrorist organization, again, international terror organization labeled by the United States of America. So is Hamas, so is Hezbollah, so is the IRGC. All of these people that I'm talking to you about are labeled international foreign terror organizations by the United States of America. Now, the Houthis end up controlling the vast majority, like 70 to 80%-ish of the population inside Yemen. Where you look at Sana'a, the capital, that's like right up over here on the map, and you kind of like and you draw a line down, they pretty much control all of that terrain. The official government of Yemen, the internationally recognized government of Yemen, effectively controls sand all the way east of that. That's it. Everything else is owned by the Houthis. So they've got all the military equipment and all the other BS, like they got it all. Now, when Israel decided to go into Gaza and start getting their hostages back, okay, the one thing that binds all of these groups together is their faith in the Prophet Muhammad. I'm just going to throw it out there. It is what it is. When they bound all together by that common deal, all right, obviously Israel is this like little devil, America is the big devil, and I'm going to show you a rant by, I believe it was the Ayatollah here in just a minute. When they did all of that, and you got to understand that religiously, they think that the land of Israel belongs to them. Whether or not you view this as a religious conflict, I don't care. But what you have to understand is that the enemies of Israel in the United States absolutely view this as a religious conflict. And they have this one thing that they call taqiyya, which essentially, like via Islam, means that they're allowed to lie to you in order to push whatever the hell agenda that they want in order to make things happen. I've seen it personally in real life, and I've seen them do some pretty wild stuff. Okay. So that is their overall goal, is they want to wipe Israel off the face of the map because they believe the land of Israel belongs to them and it's their divine right. That's why these radical freaking terror organizations such as the IRGC, Hezbollah, the Houthis, everybody else has been attacking Israel. Now, when Israel first decided to go into Gaza to get their hostages back and to crush Hamas, who is even freaking worse than anybody else that have, like, they strangled a freaking baby, right? Like, enough said. Right? And whether it was them or the Palestinian people, I don't give a shit. They're one and the same. They strangled a baby. All right. And that's that. The Houthis over in Yemen decided that they would not only target Israel. As a matter of fact, the first ballistic missile shot down exo-atmospheric that was fired in anger was actually fired by the Houthis at Israel. And it got intercepted like exo-atmospheric, and it was this cool little explosion. We showed it on the podcast when it happened. That's why they were doing that. Now, in addition to targeting Israel numerous times with ballistic missiles, numerous times with drones, things like that over the last year, okay, all of which a majority is coming from Iran, all right? They also ended up attacking merchant vessels in the Red Sea that they felt were going to Israel, had any sort of Israeli connection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because of that, we ended up having a massive influx of this international coalition of warships over the last, year and a half-ish, ever since October 7th. Now, those warships have been doing their best to protect merchant vessels. Some of those merchant vessels have been struck. Numerous civilian sailors have been killed. An entire ship and its crew got taken hostage by the Houthis. U.S. warships have been attacked numerous times. Like, it got to the point where it was, how do you want to say this, almost routine, to the point where I'd almost stop reporting on it because they would attack, they'd get shot down with air defense. The U.S. may or may not launch a counterattack. And if we did bomb them, it wasn't that big of a deal. We'd just drop 1 or 2 bombs. And all that took place under the Biden administration. Because of that, merchant traffic in the Red Sea actually dropped 70%. Now, I want you to think about this. Why is the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, so important, and why do the Houthis control it? Because that merchant traffic that I talked about traveling through the Red Sea goes and it works its way up to the Suez Canal, which is also controlled by Egypt and also controlled by BRICS. Okay? And by the way, this is all crap. I'm just spitting off the top of my head to throw out there for you. All right. So when they shut that down, what that does, that's a lot of traffic. That's a lot of oil that's being poured out of the Middle East and other places in merchant traffic. That forces them to sail all the way around Africa just to get up here. Now, I want you to think about the additional cost on inflation on the world stage that's causing, because it's pretty damn vast. All right. We also ended up losing 2 U.S. Navy SEALs at the start of this conflict. I think a lot of people remember that being reported in the news. The reason those Navy SEALs ended up losing their lives, what reportedly happened was they were intercepting a vessel that was leaving from Somalia and going up to Yemen and providing them with rocket components, missiles, things of like all sorts of different components for targeting everybody else. All right. And that ship and the components that were on it are tied back to Iran. And you're going to see this common theme with Iran going through all this BS. Well, they, again, the Houthis decided to threaten Israel after all of this crap, with the backing of the IRGC, with the backing of Iran. So all of that background is important to understand, that we bombed the living hell out of Yemen this weekend. And when I say we bombed the living hell out of them, I mean, bro, we were flying in frickin' bombers, we were running sorties and all sorts of stuff. And all of this is following statements like this. And you're going to hear from Pete Hegseth in a minute, and you're about to have it. But this is what Iran was putting out earlier this month. Give it a listen.
رئیس جمهور آمریکا میگه ما آماده هستیم با ایران مذاکره کنیم و دعوت به مذاکره و ادعا میکنه که نامه ای فرستاده که البته به ما نرسیده، به من یعنی نرسیده. این به نظر من این فریب افکار عمومی دنیاست. این معناش این است که ما اهل مذاکره ایم، میخوایم مذاکره کنیم، صلح کنیم، دعوا نباشه. ایران حاضر به مذاکره نیست. خب ایران چرا حاضر به مذاکره نیست؟ به خودتون برگردید. ما نشستیم چند سال مذاکره کردیم، همین شخص مذاکره تمام شده، کامل شده، امضا شده رو از میز بیرون انداخت، پاره کرد. با این آدم چجور میشه مذاکره کرد؟
Well, how can negotiations be held with you, good sir, when your only thing that you want to negotiate is the complete and total surrender of Israel so that you and your people can have it? You constantly sit there and chant like death to America, death to Israel. If you don't believe me, I'll just scrub forward in the video a little bit. Now, they say they don't have nuclear weapons, but according to the IRGC, or I'm sorry, not the IRGC, the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, that monitors nuclear capabilities and weapons and things like that. Back in July of last year, Iran put 135 new centrifuges online that would allow them to spin up enough nuclear or enough enriched uranium to make 5 freaking nuclear warheads within the first month of them being online. So it's kind of a big deal, and it's a big problem, and they're not supposed to be doing that crap, nor have they been complying very well with the international community for taking care of all that. So when you hear this statement from Pete Hegseth, now you are going to understand exactly why he said what he said.
The Houthi capital felt like an earthquake. Dozens and dozens of precision heavy munitions dropping precisely on the targets that we wanted to hit, sending a very clear message. And the message is clear to Iran as well. And the president said it in his truth. Your support of the Houthis needs to end immediately. We will hold you accountable as the sponsor of this proxy. And I echo his statement. We will not be nice about it. This is not the Biden administration. The message is clear.
That's what you need to know. All right. The message is clear, and we're not going to be taking this crap anymore. This is no longer the Biden administration. We are not going to be sitting back and just doing whatever the hell you think is best. And of course, you know, Iran launched numerous ballistic missile attacks on Israel last year. So everybody's sitting back and they're looking, and they're being gaslit by the left. They're being gaslit by idiots like Jackson Hinkle and all of these other people that are online pushing these terrorist narratives and terrorist propaganda. What's even worse is we have people in the national media that don't know what the hell is happening, and they're reporting on it. They're reporting on matters of national security, right? And like massive matters. And they're just pushing whatever propaganda they can without doing the due diligence and research. It's why a lot of you guys have started fluctuating over to channels like this one and all of the others to get actual accurate and up-to-date information, because y'all are tired of hearing it, and I don't blame you. You know, they will take this statement from Pete Hegseth and they'll throw it out there and be like, oh, look at the USA. They're just warmongering again. They just want to do whatever the hell they want. That's not the case. All right, we're not. This is a position that the Houthis have put the United States of America, Israel, and all of our allies over there in, like, they have forced your hand with it, right? They've been told numerous times, time and time again, stop doing these bombings, stop doing this action, stop doing these things, but they continue to do it. And they've been warned and they've been bombed, and we've done it over and over and over again. That's what's actually happened. So this weekend, after numerous negotiations, after all sorts of garbage, the U.S. finally got kind of pissed off. Some bombers were, whoa, hey, stop, I don't want to hear it. This video was done, I think it was like last month, right? To where we had some bombers that were flying down. And I told you guys that this is a warning for Iran, and I wasn't kidding when I told you that. So last month, we ended up having these bombers that go down. They're working with JTACs. For those of you guys that don't know what they are, the Joint Terminal Attack Controllers. They work very closely. They are considered part of the Special Operations community. They are members of the United States Air Force. They are Special Operations troops, and they do some pretty freaking baller stuff They end up getting attached to ODAs. They ended up getting attached to SEAL teams. They end up attached to MARSOC. They get attached to freaking Recon, the Ranger Regiment, like whoever. They get attached. They go everywhere and do everything. All right. And these guys were on the ground and dropping freaking bombs as a statement, in my opinion. This is a political statement. Everything's done for a reason. You think we produced a really freaking you think we produced that video just for like America rallying? No, it was a message over to Iran. And it was well received, in my opinion, or maybe not so well received. But I'll tell you what was well received. All of these frickin' launches that we ended up doing over the weekend over inside Yemen. And I've compiled a list of targets for you guys to let we know what we hit. When Pete Hegseth said that we shook that frickin' place, boy, did we. All right, fricking boy, oh boy, did we. We launched so much crap at Yemen this weekend. It's fricking insane. And that is just a small capability of what the United States government is capable of. They're about to learn why we spend so much of our GDP on the frickin' military and where it all goes. They picked a fight with the wrong people, I promise you. So I put this post out over on my X this morning. If you guys are interested in it and you're not following me on Twitter, I highly suggest you get your butts over there and follow me. Like, if you're not doing that, what the hell are you doing with your life, right? So here's a list of all the crap that I was able to identify via open source that has been targeted. All right, we have radar installations. Those are designed, and the targeting is in order to impair the Houthis' ability for tracking and targeting capabilities. Air defense systems for obvious reasons. Okay, we've actually had numerous drones that were shot down inside Yemen over the last year. Missile and drone facilities. Why are we going after missile and drone facilities? Because those freaking things are being used to attack Israel and U.S. and coalition warships that are floating off over inside of the Red Sea. We also went after command and control centers because obvious reasons. Weapon storage sites. They actually have a buttload of them. Like I said, people are looking at this and they're like, hey, these are just the terrorists. They're not part of this isn't the stance on Yemen. Don't say it's Yemen. Well, I'm sorry, but when you control 80% of the population, estimated 70 to 80% of the population over inside of Yemen, you're Yemen. You know what I mean? Like, you're Yemen. That's like saying that Hamas doesn't represent the Palestinian people. BS. At the end of the day, that's BS, in my opinion. All right. Power station in Tais, dude, they freaking slammed that sucker, and they did an airstrike after airstrike after airstrike after airstrike. Now, the difference is you're not going to see a lot of those videos being posted online. Historically, when we had attacked them over the last 12 months, and it was like a bomb here or there, magically there was cameras set up, and a lot of it ended up capturing this. But right now, you don't see that, because we didn't warn them and we didn't tell them it was coming. The U.S. does have a shady history in Yemen. So are we going to end up putting boots on the ground in Yemen? No, I do not believe we are. Nor do I think we have to, nor do I think we should. As a matter of fact, I think Yemen is more or less a hindrance of everything that we actually have going on. I think we've got bigger fish to fry, such as Iran. That is why Pete Hegseth went after Iran. That is why Pete Hegseth told Iran, if you guys don't stop screwing around, you're freaking next. Right? Ended up letting them know. Now, I do have some business to take care of over here because we've had a buttload of super chats come pouring in, and I absolutely need to be able to freaking tackle some of these things. I don't even know where to begin. Let me go up because I've been rambling for quite a bit. Irish Ghost says, happy St. Paddy's Day from your favorite Irish Ghost. Make sure you have a double whiskey for good luck and good health. I will do that, my friend. I actually went out yesterday and I just wanted a nice drink. So I treat myself to nice drinks. So I'll go out and I'll get a nice drink. And I love a good smoked old fashioned. So I went out yesterday and I paid decent money, got a good smoked old fashioned, loved it. Didn't know we had St. Paddy's Day coming. Now I know we do. Bro, I'm all about that life today. All about that life. Also makes sense why the bartender was like, you want Irish whiskey? I was like, do I look like an idiot? But now I know why he asked me that, right? If I'm going to go to a place like this, I'm going to have it. Tristan Allen says, did you hear that Biden gave money to Lebanon for its military? LOL. Yes, I did. All right. And the Lebanese government, that's another one, right? When we look at it, if I was to go back up over to the map, I don't, I'm sorry, but this is like a map intensive day. I know a lot of you guys enjoy the map. But when we go over and we start talking about, so Lebanon and the Lebanese government, for those that don't know, Hezbollah within itself has like a political movement over inside of Lebanon. And this is why Tristan Allen says LOL. All right, because Hezbollah has a political movement inside of the government, inside of freaking Lebanon. They're infiltrated everywhere. It is a massive terrorist organization. They control a buttload of stuff. Like, nothing really happens in there. All right, when they were bombing and killing Nasrallah, when Israel did that, when Israel took out Nasrallah a few months ago, they did that in the middle of Beirut. And in that area where frickin' like Nasrallah was living underground, and I believe it was underneath it was underneath a UN building, if I remember right. It's either a UN building or a hospital. I forget which one. Either way, this is what they do. That neighborhood in which he lived in, like you have to have like your Hezbollah military ID, if you will, your Hezbollah terrorist ID, just to access that neighborhood. Like their security leaders as if you're entering an actual military installation. Like people do not understand how organized these folks actually are. They are ridiculously organized. People mistake terrorists, right, in these terror organizations as if they're like farmers with pitchforks and things of that nature. Ladies and gentlemen, they're not. They're absolutely not. They're very ingrained networks, and they infiltrate governments. They do all sorts of stuff. In some cases, they're also backed by governments such as this one, right? Iran was flying in weapons and equipment and all sorts of stuff and money and frickin' like providing frickin' aid and medical support and things like that to Hezbollah through the main airport in Beirut. Israel had to shut the airport down. Israel had to threaten to bomb the civilian airport if Iran continued to land their planes, and that they would end up shooting the damn planes out of the sky. Like, it's a very real thing. It's a frickin' problem, right? And because of that, they then Israel ended up shutting that airport down. And so then Iran and the IRGC starts landing airplanes in Syria. All right. And a lot of those weapons and equipment that are making their way to the front line over inside of Lebanon are actually making their way in via this route right here, M5. All right. And Israel's done a pretty good job of shutting a lot of that stuff down. But I mean, they're landing stuff up in Aleppo and working its way down this highway in these like smuggling routes in order to get all of these things in. It's a very extensive network, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is not like a small time operation little thing. We're talking a massive amount international terror that's taking place. And it's all taking place because of Israel and their radical belief that, that land belongs to the Muslim people and they're going to end up taking it back. And it's a very real and scary deal when you have the now de facto leader of the Syrian government that has a stated goal of overthrowing Assad and establishing a Sunni Islamic caliphate. That's what it used to be. And you don't fight for 10 years under that frickin' flag and then throw on a suit and tie and go, I've changed. It doesn't work that way. They're going to lie to you. All right. And we saw that coming out, not this weekend, but I believe it was the weekend before, when all of the reports of the genocide started to take place. That's why Israel has now crossed the border and moved over south of Damascus and is working with the Druze to take care of those people and everybody else. They don't want to be a part of it. They want nothing to do with that genocide. They want none of that garbage to take place. All right. As a matter of fact, over this last weekend, I believe I saw that like the first Druze from freaking Syria were welcomed into Israel. All right. Nobody wants to deal with this crap. Nobody wants to deal with these radical extremists, but they do. Right. Like these people over there, like all of these people that we're fighting. And that's what makes it so difficult, is all of that radical extremism while Syria was inside of the civil war ended up pouring its way in there. And we don't get to pick a side in this one, ladies and gentlemen, whether it be like HTS, whether it be freaking like all of these people are the same. Assad was no better. Assad was gassing his own people, right? While Hezbollah was producing these weapons in order to make it happen for Assad. And so you don't get to like pick a side in this. This is like, I don't know. This would be like the Nazis and I don't know, it'd be like if the Nazis in Japan were squaring off during World War II. You know what I mean? To like make it something hopefully that everybody understands. Like, it's just, there is no right in this, right? Like the more of them that end up dying, the freaking better. And right now the same thing's happening up over on the border inside of Lebanon. Now that freaking Jelani's in charge and all of this crap's taking place, now we've got cross-border fighting that's also taking place between those two terror organizations. I don't care the outcome of it. Let them kill as many of each other as humanly possible before we decide to get involved. But right now, Israel's got bigger problems, and that's Gaza. That's Gaza. And Israel's going to end up going in there. They got 40,000 reportedly troops that are stacked up outside of freaking Gaza waiting to go in. And they've been stacked up and they've gone into the West Bank and they're starting to freaking take care of business inside the West Bank like they should have been doing the entire time. But because we had Joe Biden in office, well, it didn't really work out that way. It's kind of frustrating. But now they're all about that life and they're taking care of business, right? Back over the Red Sea, check this out. Here's I'm sorry, not the Red Sea. Excuse me, not the Red Sea. The Syrian Ministry of Defense, if you will, and now you know who the Syrian Ministry of Defense actually works for, okay? Because all of this information is important. You have to have this background information to actually understand what's going on, all right? And Preston Stewart ended up putting this out, saying that they are going to retaliate because a couple of their soldiers ended up getting captured by Lebanese Hezbollah. And they've had now rockets being traded back and forth across the border. Check this crap out. He ended up providing this video to go on with it. It is so loud. God, I hate this fucking
Allahu Akbar.
Allah Akbar. Yeah, Allah Akbar. Yeah, God wills it. If they're going to impact their intended target, it is by the will of God, right? Well, let's check out their intended target. Let's see what God intended for their rockets to be striking. And by the way, when we talk about this and we show videos like that, what you have to also understand is that those media reporters, those press reporters, just like I told you that Hezbollah is ingrained within the freaking government, they're also ingrained within the media. Same thing's taking place over in Gaza, and that's why this whole conflict has been skewed to something that is just unimaginable. Let's go back and check and see what you guys have been saying. Texas Actual says, check last XDM. Russia asked us to back off the Houthis. Yeah, of course they did. And tonight, I'm going to be probably talking more about what's kind of like taking place. For those that don't know, that same airplane ride that I showed you guys earlier about where Trump was talking about, like the freaking auto pen and all that other crap. He also made a statement that he is going to be talking, for those that don't know, Trump and Putin are supposed to be talking about peace negotiations or, a peace deal over for Ukraine today. You know where that's going to go? Nowhere. And I just want to let you guys know this ahead of time. Just like I told you last time, wait for the cards to fall, wait for things to play out. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't pick a fight with people without giving them an honest chance. If you didn't notice, the Trump administration did the exact same thing inside of Gaza. They were trying to negotiate for the hostages to be released inside of Gaza before we finally said the hell with it. Right? And now Israel's stacked up waiting to go inside of Gaza. And you're seeing the same thing play out with Iran with this statement by bombing the crap out of the Houthis. You're seeing the same thing play out with Iran as we're trying to talk to them. You just saw the Ayatollah talking and complaining about us wanting to negotiate with them, right? That video was taken in March. So you're seeing the same things take place across all different places. It's politics right now is what's taking place. So just like you had intel sharing, just like you had weapons and equipment turned back on for Ukraine, you're also going to have to deal with these negotiations in the meantime. And it sucks, but it's part of the process. It's something that you have to do. I mean, I guess you don't have to do it, but you should do it. It's good policy. Not to mention the media is going to take things and twist them any which way that they want. All right, so be patient with that. We're going to talk about that. That is a whole other aspect. I'm going to give like a whole other freaking deal to I need to catch people up to par because these things have been going on for so long that people don't really understand what's happening. And they all just assume one thing because of the way the media is throwing it out there. The media will tell you that Ukraine is a corrupt country. Okay, but do you know why? And who is it that's actually corrupt inside of the country? Is it the actual Ukrainian government or is it all of the FSB influence inside of the government? They'll tell you that U.S. met weapons and a lot of the money that had been provided didn't make it to the front lines over inside of Ukraine, but they won't tell you why. They won't talk about the trade craft that Russia is currently employing over inside of Ukraine, that they do have influence over the Ukrainian military in some locations, and even the Ukrainian intelligence, in my opinion. They have influence over everything. It's freaking disgusting. And when Ukraine finds these people, I pray that they drag them out back and shoot them because these are the people that are costing people millions of lives. And these are the people that, are essentially the ones that you hear about, right? When it comes to corruption, it's not the Ukrainian government within itself. You guys, I have to give lessons today. Today is going to be a very lesson heavy day. And I hope everybody's paying attention. I hope everybody's listening because it's very important for what's about to unfold in the future. You're talking about war over in the Middle East and potentially war inside of Ukraine with Russia being escalated. Period. I said, I hope they drag them out back and shoot them. I don't even want to give them the time of day of being freaking beaten and trying to get information out of them. Not that we condone torture on this channel, but I wouldn't even want them to have the time of the day for that. Right? Just take them out back and freaking shoot them. Be done with them because that's they're spies. Get rid of them. right? So all of this is very intensive, and you have to understand history, just like you have to understand the history of the Middle East to understand why the USA just bombed the living hell out of Yemen and the message that was being sent by doing that. Oh, you guys need a pants check today? I got you. Don't worry about it. You want a pants check? That's right. I'm wearing pants. But you have to understand. You have to understand what's going on. You really do. And that's half the issue with the mainstream media is they'll bring on experts and their experts don't even know what the hell's going on. So we got to have these chit chats, ladies and gentlemen. So tonight is going to be a little bit intensive on the history of Ukraine and what you're currently seeing taking place over there. All right. And whether or not you like it, we lost a lot of followers on this channel when I first brought up and I said, listen, I know everybody doesn't like politics, but you have to understand politically what's taking place so that you understand what's happening on the front line. You can't just throw it out there and be like, I feel like this is going to happen, right? If you're doing that, you're buying into propaganda. And a lot of this crap that's going on in our country, in Matt's opinion, is Russian disinformation. It's sowing discourse into this freaking country. A lot of the crap that like the left and the right are both pushing is sowing bipartisanship, partisan politics. And in reality, at the end of the day, what's happening is Russia's winning, and that shit needs to stop, and it needs to stop today. So yeah, we're going to be going a little bit more intensive on why things are the way they are in these conflicts before they crank up and heat off, because they will crank up and heat off. And it's important for everybody to understand what's going on with it. If you don't follow this channel, ladies and gentlemen, today is the day. You need to make sure you do, and you need to make sure your notification bell is on. Angel Lux says, screw the world's money and the world will screw you back. Well, there is the statement of following the money, but there's a heck of a lot more towards it than just following the money, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you guys know, right? The amount of stupidity that I see, like it disgusts me what I see taking place on mainstream media. We're going to solve that. We're going to take care of that. Evil Rick coming in with 2. He says, politics or appeasement, not much pressure on Russia. Correct. Seth Stutz, thank you for putting that out there. Go to the membership tab on Speak the Truth channel and you'll get the Discord link. You need to get in the Discord. If you guys are not true supporters, if you just got gifted a membership today, we end up pulling people up and we end up getting their opinions and we end up talking. And I'm going to do that here in just a minute. I think I've rambled long enough today. I would like to hear from some of y'all. I want to hear what y'all have to say. All right. And that's where we're going to take those discussions. I used to do phone calls. I used to have you guys call in over here to the channel. Reason I don't do that anymore is because number 1, I'm a one-man show. Number 2, it ends up getting spammed and it just ruins the damn show. But in Discord, I can control the hell out of that, and we know who we're bringing up and who they are. Incog Faraday gifted out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Greatly appreciate you, brother. Adara says, you should wear Ranger pennies one day to mess with us. Oh, girl, you have no idea what I have. I have a pair of jeans shorts that I made specifically where my butt cheeks hang out the bottom of them. And if I have to, I'll do it, man. I'll put them on. I will do that for you guys. If you want like redneck Ranger panties, I got you, bro. I'll even take a freaking I'll take SF patch and end up no, I won't do that because that's messed up. I won't do that. That's messed up. I wouldn't disrespect the community like that. But man, I would have a freaking blast wearing a pair of freaking jorts with my butt cheeks hanging out. I'll do that for you guys one day because I think it's hilarious. I'll put on a freaking wife beater and a pair of freaking jorts, and then I'll end up putting on a pair of cowboy boots, and I'll kick up and I'll give you guys a freaking brief. Why? Because I freaking can. All right. Oh, man, there better be donations that day, though. Like, if I'm going to do some wild stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, I expect to see some donations coming in that day. If you guys don't donate on that day and I just end up standing there, looking like an idiot, man, I'm not putting a stripper pole in here. That's not going to happen. No, ladies and gentlemen. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, and this is the other thing that pisses me off, right? Listen, you should be able and be comfortable enough in your masculinity to do things like that. And also, you should be able to talk about things like this, but also humanize yourself and have another side to that aspect, right? People are pissed off at mainstream media for a reason. People are coming over to channels like this for a reason, because we are personally kind of over a lot of this garbage. Look, you don't have to be the most educated human being on the planet to understand a lot of the things that are going on, right? And yet the mainstream media, for example, will tell you that people are starving over inside of Gaza. Here's a brand new video that just got dropped out of there. So I can humanize myself and I could have fun on air and show you guys some pretty cool stuff at the same time and educate the hell out of you. And I encourage every single one of you to fact check every single thing that I say. I don't want people on this channel to just parrot what I say and to take it as a matter of fact. I want you to question every single thing I tell you. And if I'm wrong, for the love of God, please correct me so I can put out accurate information. All right. Yeah, this is Gaza. If you can't tell, it's like during the conflict. If you can't tell. All right. And it's recent. Okay. And this place is about to get ridden on pretty freaking hard. And when I say pretty hard, I mean pretty hard. People inside Gaza don't understand how pissed off the United States government is at us having our civilians taken hostage and murdered inside tunnels and seeing freaking babies being strangled by the Palestinian people in Hamas. All right. You know what's really jacked up about this entire conflict while we're at it? Even during World War II, inside of Germany, Nazi Germany, you had people essentially create an underground railroad and help take care of Jews. This is how you know Gaza's jacked up. Not one single story or report of that taking place throughout this entire conflict has ever come out. Not one. You won't hear about it because it doesn't exist. This entire population of just over 2 million people is so jacked up in the head that that's where they're at. And I'm just going to throw this out there. At one point in time, God saw fit to flood the earth because of how dang corrupt morally it was. And when you start looking at places like this, you understand how messed up they are and how much lying they've actually done to the international community. And mark my words, all of that is going to start become very, very mainstream once Israel goes into Gaza. It's going to be mainstream. And there's going to be a huge freaking, like, how do I want to say this? There's going to be a very huge, like counter misinformation campaign that's going to be coming out of like this radical left and all of these people that are taking communist money and everything else. You're going to see it. It's going to happen. And because of that, you're going to get very accurate information for what's actually taking place, right? It's not just going to be me that's going to be talking about it. I guarantee you, you're going to see that on mainstream media. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be going on Grant Stinchfield's show again sometime this week in order to discuss things just like that, to explain what the hell exactly is happening in the Middle East, because it's absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting the amount of United States money that has gone to these people. It's absolutely disgusting the amount of humanitarian aid that's gone to these people and everything else. We need to take care of it. And it's not okay. We should not be negotiating, nor should we be supporting people that do these things. I wish all aid ends up getting shut off to them because it's that serious. We owe nothing to them. They are enemies of the United States of America. They are enemies of our allies. And when they tell you that there's innocent civilians inside of Gaza, I could show you video after video after video of young kids going through terror training camps. You can go over to Hamas's website, archived on frickin' what the heck is it? The Wayback Machine. And you can see where they posted and said that freaking 100,000 children in 2010 got trained in Hamas terror training camps over the summer, where they learned how to shoot Jews, do cross-border raids, come out of tunnels, and sow hate and disinformation and content into them. They actually do love the Nazis. Why do they love the Nazis? Well, the Nazis used to kill Jews, and so they teach Mein Kampf, and they have swastikas hanging up. They have all sorts of crap. And mainstream media won't report on that. It's freaking disgusting, and it's sad. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go move over to the Discord. So if you guys want to come up and you want to talk about anything that I actually had to say today, oh, I almost forgot to tell you. Almost forgot to talk about this because it's huge. Before I go into the Discord, this came out over the weekend. The ISIS leader inside of Iraq got killed over the weekend. You are going to get tired of winning, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to get tired of winning. That is probably one of the coolest freaking headlines I've seen in a very long time, right? And Trump just puts it out on True Social, like, is what it is. Yo, we schwacked another ISIS nut job, and he's going to get replaced. But what it's doing is it's sending a message, all right? It's sending a message to everybody that's supporting them. Guys like Jelani, by the way, support ISIS. Why? Because they have the same radical ideological belief, and they all want the exact same thing. So 6 cents, I'm sorry you don't like Donald Trump, but I'm going to put this up again. You got to give praise where praise is due. The fact that under the Trump admin, this guy got wiped out, the fact that the Houthis are being put in check, the fact that Iran is finally being put in check is a very big deal. And if you are too blinded by hate, you need to get over it really, really quick. I've also sat here and I've chewed out Trump, I've chewed out JD Vance, I've chewed out the admin for some of their actions and the way they've gone about doing things. But what you need to do is you need to not be blinded by hate, and you need to give freaking thanks, number one, and you need to give praise where praise is due when things are actually done correctly. What you're doing by coming in here and stating things like that is you are sowing more hate into this freaking world, right? And right now, after everything I just explained to you on the map, and I haven't even gotten to the Eastern Bloc countries yet, that's for tonight. You need to start pulling your head out of your ass and coming together as a country and start getting like the USA being divided the way you just did that. The USA being divided just the way you did that is exactly the reason why we're in such dire straits right now. I stopped looking at Sarah Adams stuff. Sarah Adams posts, they think the ISIS leader in Iraq was part of the NOLA situation, I believe. Great. At the same time, I don't care. There's stuff that Sarah Adams has put out that I don't necessarily agree with, stuff that I know not to be true, stuff that I know to be fear-mongering. All right. And that's my personal stance on it. She does get a lot of things right, but I think she's also a little out there. Okay. So people like to remain relevant on conspiracy theories, on things that they can't necessarily prove, on ways that they don't absolutely have it. Everything I told you today, you're welcome to go fact check. It's all out there. And everything that I told you today is real. All right. So get after it and look after it. Don't take my word for it. Go do your own due diligence. I want to build critical thinkers and I want to build intellectual honesty. We need to bring intellectual honesty back. Intellectual honesty is what actually matters at the end of the day so that you can make your own informed decisions. That's why I do what I do. I don't want mindless lemmings on this channel. If you're a mindless lemming and you're following me because of what I say on one particular day, you're going to be really upset because the very following day, I might say something that's going to pee in your Cheerios and you're not going to be happy about it, right? I don't care. You should never agree with somebody 100% of the time. You shouldn't. No human being on earth. As a matter of fact, look at any married couple on the frickin' planet and you tell me that they agree and that is supposed to be your soulmate, that is supposed to be your best friend in life. And you tell me that those married couples agree 100% on every subject. If you write a party line based on frickin' and just have to spit the party line's agenda, there's a problem. That means that you're not thinking for yourself. You're not critically thinking. You don't have your own opinion. You're just following whatever somebody else wants you to follow. You're believing what they want you to believe. And that is why we got in the frickin' situation that we're in right now. So stop being that human being, ladies and gentlemen. Please, for the love of God, stop being that human being. Now, I'm going to open up the Discord. I'm going to open up the discussion. I see Texas is already waiting in there for me, and there's already people that are queued up, ready to go. Texas, how are you this morning, friend? I'll give him a second.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Good day here. Yeah, it's a good stream. Good points over there.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to put out. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. People need to know these things, right? Like you have to educate people at some point in time because these conflicts have been dragging on for so long and they're so in depth that you really have to lay it all out there for everybody.
Yeah, and it's something that I noticed today when this I sent it to you on X, the last link, that Lavrov from Russia. There's some intel going around that he told Rubio to hold military action against the Houthis, obviously the Russians. So, and then you look at the comments and people are like, "Oh wait, why are the Russians talking about?" Because like everybody in the U.S. is like, "Oh no, like
why would Putin say that?" Well,
yeah,
because Iran supports Russia. That's why.
100%. It's all interlinked. We know that even like 6 months ago, you had the Russians announcing if the U.S. doesn't stop sending supplies to Ukraine, we're going to send missiles to the Houthis. And like people have such a short-term memory, and now all of a sudden they're making statements like that, and people are like, "Oh no, we can't listen to Russia." But when it comes to Ukraine, oh no, like Russia's right.
They're not.
Like people are just.
They're not. It's the same. It's the same crap. Like if I don't know what the appropriate Russian word is, but however you say tequila in Russian, like if there is a if there is a Ukrainian word for like Russian tequila, like propaganda, all that other crap, like let me know because it needs to be spread because it's a thing. Like Tucker Carlson sat down with Putin and literally let him freaking spew for freaking ages. Like literally changed the course of history, like in his own mind, like spewed like historical changes. It was ridiculous.
Tucker
Ridiculous.
Carlson is sitting in an interview saying that Ukraine is selling more than 60% of the weapons that the U.S. sent.
Oh, yeah.
Fact, and then he ends the statement with the word "fact." It doesn't make it real. It's
No,
not like it's
just
not-
because you state fact doesn't make it a fact, bro. No. Gosh.
Ukraine is officially, according to Tucker Carlson, officially supplied Hamas and supplied Hezbollah and supplied the Mexican cartel. I don't think he noticed that Ukraine, if they would have given away that much of the weapons that they got, I don't think we would have been Ukraine anymore at this point. So,
No, we would have wiped Ukraine off the planet if they actually did that. That's some of the stupidest
y'all
crap ever.
lost your whole country.
What's that, Shane?
Like, that doesn't make any sense. They would have lost the whole country in the first month. Like, they never would have went anywhere with this fight.
No, they
Like,
wouldn't.
why can't we classify Russia as terrorists? I mean, look what they're doing to Ukraine, man. That's terrorism. Slaughtering civilians, mass murder,
Well, a
all
lot of
the
that
other things.
a lot of that stuff has to be substantiated, right? Like, and it's not that Ukraine hasn't substantiated things on the international stage. I'm pretty sure we sent in like international observers to Bucha, didn't we, Texas?
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff has been documented, but the problem is that gets looked at as a war crime, right? And when I think you're right. I think some of that can be viewed as terrorism, but you have to be careful, like the way you go about using that and the different things that go into it, right? Like, this is a nation, and I think once we get the direct evidence linked that Russia, not that we don't know they were doing it, not that we didn't find, like, that Israel didn't find the weapons on the front line, not that we don't have pictures of Russian Spetsnaz working side by side with Hezbollah, right? Not that we don't have all of that, okay? Not that we don't have the links to Russia and Iran, not that we don't have all of those different links, but once you actually start substantiating it and have like money trails and facts and like where it all came from, then you can start calling, Russia a state sponsor of terror. And I think once they're able to get that label slapped on them, a whole new gate's going to open up as well. And I think that's something that is not even on people's radar right now.
Yeah. Matt, take a look what I just said to you. This is interesting and it's cooking right now. Iran just claimed that the U.S. has given them 72 hours to pull their intelligence ships back, or it's going to be all-out military action.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, and thank you. So this
20
is what
minutes ago.
This is what Texas just sent me. And of course, now we're going to have to go vet this. U.S. ultimatum to Iran: withdraw your spy ship or face attack. Iran claims the U.S. has given them 72 hours to pull their intelligence ship Zardos from the Red Sea. So that's a real thing. I actually know this to be true. I don't know whether or not we gave them the warning, but I do know that that ship has been like alleged to be a spy ship and everything else. And they've been alleged to be providing targeting data and information to the Houthis in order to conduct these attacks. And the reason they're telling them, likely if that report is true, the reason they would be telling them to do that is because we just took out their radar stations and freaking, command C2 nodes and command and control structures and everything else.
Yeah. I think there's something cooking that like people are like sleeping on. I think there's something bigger than what just happened the last 48 hours with the US, and I think this was just like you said, they were targeting mainly like radar sites, some launchers and some like air defense stuff, assets that, because Trump, when he was asked, will there be boots on the ground? And he didn't say no, but he said we don't need it. What we can do this time, something like when we can do this way or something like that. So he's not like it's not done yet and over with. I think they're softening up something. I don't know. I think there's something really cooking.
Well, I mean, how do I want to say this? Yes, it's very clear that what was taking place over inside of Yemen was a freaking warning to Iran, right? The U.S. showing strength and wanting to go over there and do that and bomb the hell out of them is a direct message to Iran. And Iran's received it. They are well aware. And this is not the first time we've had this conversation with them. And so the question is how much longer do you put up with it? And it's at a very key time. When I stated that Israel is going to see ironclad support from the United States of America, there's something, in my opinion, that's a little bit more strategic to Israel's mission as well. because Israel's about to go into Gaza. I think once Ramadan's done, like Israel's going in, right? And when they do that, they are, I think they're just going to go hands across Gaza and clear that sucker out, and they're not going to stop, and they're going to push everybody back into a tiny corner, right?
Yeah.
If they were to do that, or in my opinion, when they do that, Iran is going to be launching a shit ton of ballistic missiles, a shit ton of drones. They're going to unleash unholy hell over on Israel, quite literally, right? And so the United States, ahead of that, we have an excuse to take out all of these capabilities of Iran, which we know they're not going to go willingly and not stop supporting the freaking terrorists inside of Gaza and inside of Lebanon and inside of Judea and Samaria, inside of Syria. And so the United States is making a very political and strategic move, in my opinion, by targeting Hezbollah, by targeting the Houthis, because that gives us a very justifiable reason. Because not only have the Houthis been going after, warships and all of that other stuff, but they've also been killing civilians. They've shut down a lot of merchant traffic. They have been doing quite literally terror that's affected the world stage. And if Iran continues to support that, well, guess what? We get to bomb the shit out of them. But those effects of bombing the shit out of Iran is what's going to keep them at bay when Israel goes into Gaza. We're going to be able to degrade their capabilities that way. Iran knows this. But again, they raise their red flag of revenge. Let them have it. And take out that stupid mosque for, being a communication center for terrorism while they're at it. Send a freaking message. You know what I mean?
Well, I think we're gonna see more. I think we're gonna see more strike packages heading that way in the next probably week or so. You can see they're not slowing down because they're just coming back with more threats. And what they do as soon as they were hit, they started firing back and then claiming they obviously hit the carrier, which they didn't, because the aircraft carrier with the open source intel that we have today's day, it gets into a fender bender. You'll have photos of it within a few hours somewhere on the internet.
Yeah.
So if they were hit, they would be the ones releasing the video. They would be bragging about it.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't think they hit anything. I just think that they're escalating it to this point where I think Israel should go through Gaza, and I think that they have a good. Somebody said that the Trump administration is considering Syria as a relocation for the Gaza civilians.
I agree with that statement. Send the extremists to the extremist land. My only problem with that is, sure, I'm all about that life. You know what I mean? And I want to address something quick down in the comments section. Where we see people saying outlaw AIPAC and dual citizenship and all of this other crap, and people crapping on Israel right now. If you're not able to spit off facts the way I just did, you probably shouldn't have a stance on this conflict. And I had to sit there and go on a freaking 40-minute history lesson off the top of my head. If you don't know history like that on what's taking place, and I didn't even give an all-inclusive history lesson, I just gave a recent history lesson and why things are actually happening. If you can't do that, then you probably don't and shouldn't have a stance until you do your own dang due diligence and research on it. And I'm not just talking about flipping through TikTok and listen to a couple people spout off some crap that may or may not be true. I'm talking actually open books, check facts, find the freaking facts, and then come back with that same stupid opinion that you have. Thinking that AIPAC somehow controls the United States of America, you're a moron. If you think AIPAC controls our government, you're a moron. I'm just going to flat out tell you, you're stupid. Right? If that's what you believe, you are stupid. Because if that's the case, the Biden administration would have been able to freaking bully Israel into not going into Rafah last year. We held up weapons shipments and weapons deal and arms sales and everything else to keep them at bay. The reason Israel was so dang unsuccessful last year had to do with a lot of influence of the Biden administration. And that doesn't happen if AIPAC controls the United States of America, you flipping morons. So get the hell out of my comment section, go read some shit, and come back and make an actual educated, and if you want to have an actual educated conversation, we can have that. But please have one. Please have an educated opinion. If you're going to have an opinion, at least educate yourself on the subject, or be man enough or woman enough to go, I'm not educated enough to have an opinion. I need to go do my DD.
These comments only happen when the narrative fits their end. When Biden was blocking Israel or playing the short shells with Ukraine, all of a sudden they're not there complaining that Israel controls the world when screaming genocide and that Israel's bombing millions of children in Gaza, which was all bullshit for weeks, and protesting and rioting. But then it was there was no like, what do you mean? I thought Israel controls the United States government. What happened then? They didn't. They weren't here.
Yeah. All right. BB, what's going on, friend? What you got? Sorry to just randomly blast you and throw you on stage. After BB, we're going to go over to Evil Rick.
No, I had a brain fart, dude. I'm sorry, man. I did have something I wanted to say, but...
Okay, well, we'll hold that thought. We'll go to Evil Rick, right? Maybe it'll come back to you. Evil Rick, what you got, friend?
Well, how's it going, Matt?
It's going good today, man. It's a good day today.
So since we're talking about the Iran stuff, since there are reports of us giving 72 hours to that Iranian ship, if stuff were to pop off between the US and Iran, do you possibly see, like, I know Russia's got their own little thing going on, but do you see, like, possibly Iran's allies coming to help at all? I mean,
in what way?
It is the US versus Iran, but like at the same time, I do know they're allied with a lot of, I don't want to say bad countries, but I mean, they're not friends of the free world.
Well, like I said, you see who Russia's partnering with and what Russia's doing. So if we're going to talk about Iran, and we're going to talk about other people joining the fight and doing different things. And like I said, everything's very strategic. Putin's a smart guy, but so's Trump, to be honest with you. And Trump knows to listen to the people that advise him. And so that's why I'm like, everybody that's worried about the United States negotiating with what's taking place, with Russia over for Ukraine right now, y'all need to like cool your panties off, because this decision that he is making, and if that 72-hour notice is real, we know Iran's not going to back it out, and that ship's going to be at the bottom of the Red Sea on hour number, 72.01, right? And so all of that is very strategic. And the fact that Russia told the United States to back off, what do you think that's going to do for negotiations? As far as as far as Ukraine and Russia go?
I would assume it's probably not going to go well.
Right. And so what people are doing is thinking that the United States is playing some sort of game of checkers, and in reality, it's 3D chess invented by Sheldon Cooper that nobody can actually understand. Right. And so you got to dig deep. You got to pay attention to what's going on. And then everything starts to become clear. I think all of this is very strategic. It's strategically planned. Today, the United States is supposed to be entering in those freaking, like peace talks with Russia for Ukraine, right? But at the same time, Russia wants us to back off beating the hell out of the Houthis. No, sir, says I. That's just never going to happen. And Putin is going to be asking for freaking favors along the way as well, if any of this is supposed to go through. But at the end of the day, Zelensky has to agree with whatever it is Putin proposes. And without security guarantees, I really don't see Zelensky coming into it. And the Trump admin ran on ending this war pretty much overnight. Right? And if the U.S. is going to get sucked into it, we got to get sucked in for a good reason. There has to be a voice that actually tells the American people what's going on. And so all of that stuff is very strategic, and it's going to have to play out over time. Right? Like the U.S. just can't go in and bomb the shit out of Russia. But if Russian munitions are used to target U.S. service members, not that we want that, but if we have that information and we can prove it, well, now Russia's got a problem with the United States, doesn't it? Like the U.S. has solid beef with Russia. So everybody cool your panties off and let them play 3D chess, because what we're seeing surface level is checkers. You know what I mean?
Yep. I got one more thing to ask you, if that's okay.
Send it.
So for the negotiation part, I've seen a lot of stuff thrown out for each side. So like Ukraine wants their territories back. They want Russia to leave. Russia wants to be able to keep the territories, and they want to be able to keep like troops in those areas. That way they can make sure something like 2014 doesn't happen again, where supposedly the Ukrainians are just bombing the hell out of Russian native speaking people. What concessions do you, in order for the war to end, what concessions do you think both sides are going to have to make? I mean, both sides are kind of unwilling to give ground to the other. So, I mean, it's kind of a toss up in the air about.
Yeah. So let me open up this other map so I can properly explain it. Okay. Give me just a sec here. Unfortunately, it's map time. When you talk about concessions, it's land, right? When you talk about concessions, it's land. Number one, everything over in the eastern side of the country. So let me blow this up big so that people can see it. Let me make sure on the Discord that you guys can see me like decent size as well as I run over through this, okay? Like I want you guys to be able to see what the heck I'm talking about. Okay, so when we start zooming in and we look, right? So you had Russia initially move in right about the same time. You had the separation of the East, the DPR, the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic that like started to emerge after, the 2014 Maidan Square incident, right? And then what we ended up seeing, like, is all of that followed, is we end up seeing Russia move over in the little green men that go and they take Crimea. When they did that, they were able to then start making this massive freaking like military supply depot and all of this other crap and move people over and do all of this stuff over inside of Crimea. That was a problem. That was like Crimea was a major launching pad for Russia for this operation. Major launching pad, right, for this operation. At the same time, they were so successful in going over there doing these cross-border actions off over in the east because they had up to, at one point, I think it was 200,000 troops right before the invasion stacked up on the Russian side of the border. And prior to all of that, immediately following Maidan, you had Russian Spetsnaz that were operating over inside of the east, working with these separatists, which are now being called terrorists, which are being called whatever the hell you want anymore. It doesn't matter who throws it out there, right? So all of that stuff is very important to remember because all of that is the reason why frickin' Zelensky wants security guarantees. Because, in the early days after Russia had gone into Crimea, right, you saw Ukrainian troops. If you look at Ukraine 10 years ago versus where they're at today, it's a night and day difference. It's freaking scary. Ukraine 10 years ago, before NATO really got involved and started working with them, Ukraine 10 years ago, it looked like what you would imagine today if just a bunch of rednecks picked up their firearms and started to fight against Russia, right? They walked up over there with a freaking white flag trying to talk to the Russians and figure out what the hell was going on down in Crimea. It's absurd, right? And Russia used that as a launching platform. So three times now. Time number one, when the Spetsnaz were over inside of eastern Ukraine. Time number two, when they ended up taking Crimea. And time number three, when they ended up freaking launching that major invasion into Ukraine. And all of this is with Russia technically as a signatory to the Budapest Memorandum, which recognizes the borders. Doesn't give them security guarantees, doesn't give Ukraine security guarantees. We've talked about that before. It's very short. If you, for some reason, don't like me saying that, please go read the Budapest Memorandum. It's a horrible deal for Ukraine. Why they agreed to it's beyond me. But because of all of that, Zelensky is not an idiot. And so I think at a bare minimum for that to take place, number one, right, because he's going to want security guarantees. I highly doubt the U.S. is going to give them. But what the U.S. likely will do in the event that Russia wants to FAFO is build Ukraine up to the point where it is one of the strongest militaries in the world to keep Russia at bay. It wouldn't surprise me if we just started a new coalition and said to hell with NATO. We're also going to be combating Russian aggression, and the U.S. is going to frickin' be heading it up, and Ukraine is going to be the frickin' first country to join that sucker, right? And then cut all of our funding from NATO and start forcing these corrupt-ass NATO countries to start getting on frickin' board and just rebuilding NATO from the frickin' ground up. But at a minimum, when you ask about concessions, this entire land bridge down here is going to have to go. This entire land bridge, in my opinion, would need to go back to Ukraine, period. And I don't think Zelensky would do it for anything less. And the question is, do you think Putin would be willing to give up that land bridge? I don't think he would.
Yeah, I don't from what I've heard coming from him and like other sources, he doesn't really seem to want to play ball unless it's absolutely necessary.
Right. And so with that being said, we're going through the political things, and then you see other things happening on the world stage as well that Russia is also involved in. So do I think that these freaking negotiations are going to amount to anything? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like the U.S. might even come out and say, hey, we made them a really good deal, but they didn't want to take us up on it. Cool. That's fine. But the reality is right now is we're also stacking up ammo to go to war with Russia. And we're doing that via the Houthis, and we're doing that via Iran. And the fact that Russia actually allegedly asked the United States not to target the Houthis is a good sign of that, if that makes sense. Us telling Iran to pull your freaking intel ship out of the Red Sea or the Gulf of Aden, wherever the hell it's currently floating, is a very good sign of that. Us threatening to bomb the hell out of freaking, because you got to think, if we start bombing the hell out of freaking Iran, how many times have you seen like Russians on the ground inside of Iran and vice versa? So all of that is going to directly impact the Russian war effort as well. Russia is not going to like that. And if we catch Russia doing the same, like if we confirm that Russia was supplying weapons to those terror organizations inside of Lebanon, if we confirm that Russia was giving material and freaking intellectual and freaking all sorts of support, monetary support to Hezbollah, well, now you're a state sponsor of terror. So we've got our own cards that we're playing with. Putin's aware of that. Trump's not an idiot. And again, 3D chess, not checkers. And people are looking at this like it's a dang checkers game, and it's not. Abby asks, is Russia going to use our counterattacks on the Houthis as an excuse to not come to the negotiation table? Possibly. It's very possible. But remind you what I had said, that these are just a necessary step before an escalation gets taken, right? Like, it's just like, I don't know, like if you want to report harassment, right? Like if you want to report harassment to the police, you got to at least tell them not to contact you, right? You got to tell them to stay off your property. You got to tell them they're not welcome there. People are allowed to walk up to your porch and knock on your door. You can't just call the police and say, yo, they're trespassing. No, that's not how that works. You tell them to get off your property and they're no longer welcome and they refuse to leave, then you can call the police. Then you can defend your property depending on where the state's at, right? And the different laws. And this is kind of like one of those little parts of it that's not necessarily written, but it's widely acceptable. All right. Plus, it gives us time to move things into freaking place. So when you're talking about millions of lives being at risk, you need to be patient. It's just not something that's going to snap and pop to overnight, because in order for the Trump admin to do what needs to be done, they're going to need support of the American population. They're going to need support of both Republicans and Democrats to solve all of these problems. And right now, there's a lot of freaking political divide in this country, and this country needs to stop and it needs to be brought together. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing very strategic moves by the Trump administration in order to make all of those things happen. But people are too knuckleheaded to realize it, and they're too busy with their Trump derangement syndrome to actually be able to recognize that itself. Yep. I hope that provided a good answer.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to ask. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, of course, brother. All right. You know what, Texas, I'm going to give you the last word here. I'm out of time, unfortunately, for today. So Banshee CAA, I hope to see you guys tomorrow morning and or tonight inside of the Discord. What y'all got? Texas, last word, my friend, before I close out the Discord.
Hey, Matt.
I'll give it to somebody else. I'm stuck. My brain is stuck on something over there on this side. But yeah, I'll just want to say thank you to all the new members, new subscribers. Like, comment, and then come over to the Discord. Join us. If you are a member, go to the member section. There's a fresh link there from a couple of days or maybe a week ago. So should still be working. And click on it. Come join our Discord. Say hello in the general chat. Say hi, I'm new. And then somebody will say hello. And yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, it's a good community, man. We do a lot of good things. And you guys do a lot of good things on the Discord behind the scenes as well. Like, it really is. Like, I'm so proud of what this channel has turned into and the amount of like just unwavering support. You know, like we have turned this thing into not just.
How can I join the Discord?
Right.
To the people that are asking how you can join the Discord, once again, if you are a member on the channel, if you have been lucky enough to get one gifted, if not, you can. It's a couple price of a Starbucks coffee, I think. And
yeah, it's like $5 a month, I think.
Yeah, it's nothing like crazy. You become a member, then you can go get the link from the member section, and then you can come over and join us.
Nailed it, brother. Absolutely nailed it. And all of that goes to good use. Cheers, man. Cheers, cheers, cheers. All right, guys, on the Discord. I'm going to back out of here so I can close the show out over on YouTube because I got a lot of super chats to read over and I got a lot of thanks to give today. So hopefully I see you guys back over on YouTube. If not, I will see all of you suckers tonight.
Wait 1 second. Did you see your favorite, your least favorite human sitting down, a photo of him sitting down with Tulsi Gabbard?
Who?
Somebody that just called for the U.S. to bomb Kiev, Britain, and France.
Who the hell did that?
Jackson.
No, he
Hinkle?
didn't. She actually gave him the time of day.
I don't know. There's a photo going around of him, and it doesn't look too old because, like in this photo, it looks like she's.
I mean, she would have had to go see him overseas because last I checked, he didn't want. Like after he visited with Nasrallah.
I sent it to you. Click on the last link I sent you.
Son of a. Well, I want to verify it before I put this crap out because I can get in trouble for. I need to verify that. That's a big.
Yeah, they'll put it out. I'm saying you can open it and look at it.
Will.
And then you can.
I'll open it and look at it, and I'll do my due diligence because that is insane if that's true. So.
Yeah.
Life. Okay.
All right. I'll let you go have some fun with that one. I'll leave you there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Later.
Cheers, brother. All right. So let's go back over here because I got some super chats that I need to go over and I got some recognition that needs to be given out and finish answering your guys' question up over here on YouTube before I finally shut the show out for the morning. JS Mill says, respect, Matt. I'm glad to see you doing better, brother. Evil Rick, politics or appeasement, not much pressure on Russia. That is a fact. Incog Faraday gifted out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Adara the Wholesome asked me to wear Ranger panties one day just to mess with people. Yep, I can do that. I have no problem. I could take off my NFG merch and just wear freaking like Ranger apparel, Ranger up apparel, and freaking Ranger panties and all sorts of stuff. Not that they sponsor the channel because they don't, but I think it would be hilarious. Patrick Loudon, you see Sarah Adams' post. Oh, wow. I'm actually going over some old ones. Here we go. Tiger Claw. War crimes are only enforced by the responsible winner and the loser of wars, neither of which Russia is. The title of war criminal is useless. I would tend to agree with that statement. BBG, my daughter is on the Truman. They were going to be home in April, but now May. She said the sailors are in good spirits and they are safe. Hell yeah. Well, I mean, that's just the thing, right? When you have a SecDef that's actually doing his job, when you have a SecDef that has like the cojones to like demand the military be used to break shit and kill people the way it's designed and not a political social experiment, and you allow the military to start doing their job, spirits are going to be uplifted. Do you think they like over there floating around the Red Sea soaking up freaking like munitions from the freaking terrorists inside Yemen? No, they don't. They want to cause death, destruction, break shit, and kill people just like the rest of us do when it comes to those folks. So good honor, man, and God bless. Russ, 0711. From the time Gazans are born, they are taught nothing but hate for more than 30 years now. How many decent people do you think are left? I don't. Abby, is Russia going to use our counterattacks on the Houthis as an excuse to not come to the negotiation table? Yeah, they are. Brandon Cook ends up giving out 10 Speak the Truth memberships. Greatly appreciate you, sir. And David B, man, thanks for becoming a true supporter. Shane Peters, can I get a prayer? It's the day I lost my daughter. I'm struggling. Oh, Shane, that sucks, man. And, you know, we do need a good prayer to close the show out. So I think one for you and your daughter would be great. Lord, I cannot imagine the pain that Shane and his family go through on a daily basis, let alone the anniversary of the death of their daughter. But what I do know is nothing happens on this planet without your say-so, and so that there is a reason of greater importance that did happen. And I pray, Lord, that sacrifice did not go in vain, that empowers people, that it does your will here on this planet. And I also pray for peace over Shane and his family. I pray for a day of peace and a day of rest. Lord, please give them that. Please let them know that they're loved. Please let them know that their daughter is safe. Please let them just feel peace today. If there's one thing that we can ask for, which would be greater than anything else, is just the peace over their family and for them to feel your love today. You're capable of it. I felt your love in the past, and everybody's felt your love in the past. That is a true follower. So Lord, please, we beg you, we pray that you take care of Shane and his family today, and you give them the peace and comfort that they deserve. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I am signing off for the day. Shane, my condolences, sir. That's rough. I can't even imagine what that must be like for you guys. Peace, love, happiness. God bless.